Sorry about that. Morgan, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So sorry about that, folks, for that brief intermission. I the internet just crapped out on us for a second. Before we broke up this transmission, Morgan was telling us about how she prepares for a musical performance, and that she said that so far we know that she has to memorize the song. What Um, the next part, I guess, is how do you get yourself up on stage in front of all those people?
Um, I've never really had like stage fright that badly, at least. Because I kind of grew up performing, like with my dancing, and I used to do acting as well. So I'm quite used to being on a stage. Um, the thing that I find the hardest about being on stage is talking, like introducing my songs and like interacting with the audience. I find the actual playing the music perfectly fine. But having to say hello to the crowd is the hardest part.
Why is it so hard for you?
Um, well, I've got to sound enthusiastic, and I'm not very good at that. Even if I am enthusiastic, it's still, I could be as happy, I could be the happiest person in the world, but I would still end up going, hello, everyone.
Well, then
So,
you come off like it's cool and aloof, like like a hipster, which is good. It can be good for a young crowd. Um, do you, so you said you were in plays as a kid. What was that like? What kind of plays were you in?
um, oh, I'm trying to think. I wasn't really in that many because we did more, I was in a drama group and we did a lot of like our own like original pieces.
Hmm.
Um, I actually don't think I was in. Oh, I was in Blood Brothers. We did Blood Brothers. That's the only one I can think of.
For those of us who don't know, what is Blood Brothers about?
It's about two boys who are born to a mother called Mrs. Johnson,
Mm.
and Mrs. Johnson looks after Mrs. Lyons's house. Mrs. Lyons is rich and Mrs. Johnson is poor. Um, Mrs. Lyons can't have a child, so Mrs. Johnson is having twins and
Mm.
gives one of them to Mrs. Lyons, and she brings it up as her own. Then the twins meet later in life, and it's all about like sort of rich and poor and the differences, and it's really good. It's got some good songs in as well. You should check it out.
I definitely will. Thank you for letting us know. What part did you play?
I was Mrs. Johnson.
Mm.
Wait, no, I was Mrs. Lyons.
You have any plans to act now as an adult?
No,
No.
no.
Not even in a musical?
Oh no, definitely not. I can't dance. I can't dance anymore. But I could when I was a kid.
Gotcha. We'll stick to being a musician then. Um, so how has dating been for you as a young lady on the spectrum?
Um, well, I have a long-term boyfriend. We've been together nearly 3 years.
Congratulations.
Thanks. Sort of around the age that people start dating was when I met him, so
Hmm.
he's the only person I've sort of properly dated. Um, he's neurotypical, but he's very, very understanding, and it works really well.
Um, where'd you guys meet?
Um, we met on a summer program called NCS, um, where we went to the Lakes District and did like sort of fun activities like kayaking and stuff. Um, I didn't really know how to flirt with people, so my idea of flirting was screaming his name in his face, and somehow that worked. I really don't know how.
That's what he likes, I guess. And that's and then for my other Aspies out there, sometimes it is just being you attracts the right person to you. Yeah, for Morgan's case, it's just screaming in people's face seems to get her what she wants.
He takes the mick out of me for it now.
So in what ways is your boyfriend understanding of your autism? Can you go into a little bit about that?
So he's very good at knowing how to support me, I guess. Sometimes he knows what I need better than I do, which I've got quite a bad sense of interoception, and I believe the term is alexithymia. It's where you struggle to identify your emotions.
Yeah, I think you're right on that.
Yeah. So sometimes I don't actually know what I need, and he does. So sometimes I'll be freaking out about something, and he'll be like, "Morgan, it's too loud in here. Put your ear defenders on." And I'll do it, and I'll be like, "Ah, wow, amazing! How did I not figure that out myself?"
He sounds like a great boyfriend, and that is a very common trait in a lot of people with autism, is not being able to tell what we're feeling without a little help from our ear defenders. Or for me, it's listening to some music or finding a quiet place to organize my thoughts. When you go into university, do you talk to your professors about your autism at all? Like what you need in the classroom?
Well, I wasn't actually diagnosed with autism until about a week before I had to go home for the pandemic.
Oh.
So I didn't actually really get the chance, but I did speak to them about my other sort of disabilities, and I got help for that, and it's pretty much the same help that I would be getting for autism. Would you like more information about that?
Yes, please.
So in the UK we have a government-run thing called DSA, which stands for Disabled Student Allowance, which they don't normally actually give you like an allowance of money. They normally fund accommodations that you need. So, for example, I got an ergonomic setup. So I've got like a ergonomic chair and like a footrest and stuff for my room. And I also have software on my computer, such as speech to text software, an organizational software, which is really good if you're not very good at staying organized. It like lets you make mind maps and stuff and timetables. And next year I've managed to get a studio flat, so that means I'll be completely by myself, and it's possible. Studio flats are not cheap. You know, you have a bedroom, a bathroom, and a kitchen all in one room. It's not cheap. So they've said that they will possibly fund like the extra that it would cost for that.
Great.
So, yeah.
Congratulations. I wish we had that in America for young adults, because in America you have to be like severely disabled to get something like that usually. It seems like I've interviewed a number of people from the UK who are autistic, and you seem like your country is way more on top of it than America, which is really great. It must feel great to get so much support from your country. So what are you doing to keep yourself busy during this pandemic?
Mostly reading, but I've also just started a blog with the same name as my Instagram. So I've been writing some blog posts for that.
How can people find your blog?
It's called Neurodivergent fairy, just all one word, .wordpress.com.
That's great. And
It's also in my sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
It's also in my bio.
On your Instagram.
Yeah.
All right, excellent. So, folks, check out her blog. What's some of the things that you're writing about?
Well, so far I've only done 2 entries. I've done like a little introduction, and I also am currently taking part in a thing called Story Camp, which is like a writing course about mental health. So I've done my first article for that, which is about grief and talking about mental health.
That's really great. I look forward to reading your blogs after I'm done talking to you.
Thanks.
Morgan, I always like to end my interviews, especially when I'm talking to a fellow Aspie. If you could change the way the world sees autism in one way, what would it be and why?
I wish that more people would acknowledge that it's not all bad. That even though obviously it does limit you in some ways and some of it's a bit rubbish, there's also a lot of positive. I kind of see it as for every negative there's a positive. Like, for example, I may have really bad noise sensitivity and that gives me sensory overload a lot of the time, but for that same reason, I'm quite good at identifying different melodies in music.
That's great, Morgan. I love that you've been able to turn a negative into a positive, which is really the key to how to thrive as an adult with autism, is learning to play to your strengths, which for you is music. If anyone wants to get in contact with you or maybe hear you play someday, how can they do that?
Message me on Instagram.
All right, awesome. Morgan, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today. Folks, this has been another episode of Heroes of Autism here with Morgan, and it's been a pleasure getting to know you a bit, Morgan. Okay, folks, that's all I have for you today. Signing off.